All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is a great place to live in Brewster County. If you're living here, you already know that. If you're visiting here, buy some property. And we love to have you. Thank you for coming. Delighted to have you. We'll talk a little bit today about, I guess we're talking today. Got lots of things to talk about at the county judge level. The Chris focus on water. Let me introduce you to my colleagues real quick, and then I'll let them tell you a little bit about themselves. To our immediate right is Judge Mackenzie from Hudspeth County. She and I came into the judgehood 3 years ago. So we both, say to be 3 years to figure out what the bathroom is. Pretty good. Next to her is Judge Joe Shuster of Pecos County. And I got to brag, so Joe's got the second largest, we are the largest county in Texas. But between us, and she's the third largest. So between the three of us, we've got about 15,000 square miles. Is that right? Or something like that. And then last, on the very end, is Judge Rubio. She is county judge from Rubio County. Now, she's not quite as big as we are. She's got quite the county and a lot of fun things going on. So I'll just kick it off, and Judge Mackenzie, once you got your 30 seconds to stay.
Sure. Well, thanks for being here. I think we're all here to talk about water, right? Like the judge mentioned, we're the third largest county in the state. If you don't know where we are, we're just outside of El Paso. We got to get away from them in 1917 when we were developed. 4,500 square miles, 3,200 people, so we got about a mile and a half between each person. It's a beautiful thing. I like to say we were discovered a long time ago, but it's like people just found us. We don't have data centers and all these things that Judge Shuster will talk about here. However, we are pretty popular about water more than we had up in Del City. Whenever we were in Del City outside of Bono, BP, that is what El Paso's growth is based off of water in our county. So I have a real stake in this and my own personal opinions, but I'll keep those aside. And the big radar that we're on right now, if y'all are not familiar, is looking outside my office in Sierra Blanca, Texas. I see a mountain called Round Top. And if you haven't heard of it, that is the largest deposit of rare earth minerals in the nation. And we are likely going to start production. If you're not familiar, and I am not a geologist, I'm not a scientist, I am just your regular person that happened to be elected. The best way to explain it, if you're not familiar, is it's kind of like taking coffee grounds and a filter. Like putting rocks in there, and then it's leached out with billions and billions and billions of gallons of water. So it's something that is unincorporated in my mind, being part of West Texas, and it's something that we're talking about, thinking about.
I'm Joe Shuster, Pecos County Judge. Been here 24 years now. Never thought I'd make 3 terms, but I got 6 under my belt. And I retired at the end of this year, so that's a good thing. And I look in the audience and I see a friend of mine sitting there, Sam Feast. I say, and seen him in years. Anyway, yes, in 2022, Pecos County went through the election in November of 2022. We passed a Middle Pecos Groundwater District, Conservation District, and I came into office in January of 23, just a month and a half later, basically. So I've been part of the Groundwater District since the infancy of it, and we've seen lots of ups and downs and fights and battles and court cases, but we've all survived it, and guess what? We're all doing better for it too. So conservation districts is the way to go. I'll pass it.
Thank y'all, and I guess I'm a little embarrassed to say, but this is the first time I've been to Hamilton, and I have immediately fell in love with it. So I'm Judge Bella Rubio, and I am from Rubio County. I'm a native Rubio Countyite, and we're located in the middle of the hill country, and our claim to fame are the Frio River and the Nueces River. that we are very protective of. I'm grateful to see Chairman King. I first met him when we were judging a beauty contest in one of our incorporated cities. And so I think he and I discussed it was a tougher assignment than his legislative assignment and my county judge's assignment. So, but grateful to see Chair King, grateful for the sponsors. Water, of course, in Rio County is liquid gold. And we continue, myself and my colleagues, to do everything we can to protect it and to hold on tight to it. And so I am very humbled and honored to be a part of this panel and to be a part of Water in the Desert.
Chief Justice, why don't you start out, tell the audience maybe a couple of projects that you, maybe present or past projects that you've worked on with water that folks might find interesting. Okay, let me go back to the beginning. In 2003, when we first started this road with Middle Texas Groundwater and the county, we went through several different court cases, so on and so forth, and we came out in the end. And after both parties spending a lot of money, we made an agreement, and we set on ourselves a drawdown depth chart, and I believe it was either 6 or 8 wells. Any of the 6 or 8 wells hit that joint, then we cease and desist until the water takes us back up.
Yeah.
So far, it's never been tested, so everything is good. 24 years later, but during the same time frame, we started getting wind turbine storms in West Texas. We got ours here, we had 5, I believe 6. One of them's gone, they had to tear it down because they had concrete in the base, and that was the British Petroleum built 2 wind farms, and British Petroleum 1 is the one they had to tear down here a few years ago because of the base. British Petroleum number 2 is still up, running, and producing electricity. By doing that, unknowing at the time when we started doing that, highlands started coming from the east. We had highlands coming from San Antonio and both from Austin. And we joined in with a group of wind towers over at Upton and Crane County and those counties going that way towards Abilene. And it brought the highlands, the power lines to there. Over the course of the years, we started getting knocks on the door about solar farms. And we've had our share of solar farms over the last several years. We brought them into Pecos County. They've been good for us economically. They haven't grown the population yet like they were going to. 6 or 9 jobs is not a good way to grow population. So now we've got AI data centers coming to Pecos County. And right now we're in discussion with 3 of them. One of them's already signed and contracted up. Excuse me. And in doing so, we're having discussions about water with each one of them. And there's several different ways to do it. They have a closed system, which is a circular water system. And another way is air-cooled, and another way is oil-cooled. I don't know, 2 of them are still in the works of discussion, so I don't know how they're going to do it. The one south of Fort Stockton on Highway 285 is going to be water, and it's going to be a closed circuit, from my understanding. Now, this morning while we're sitting here listening to some of the people talk up here, I turned and talked to my director about all of these data centers wanting to come out here into West Texas. We can put in the contract that they drill a monitoring well in the water field that they're going to take the water out. And our conservation district gets to monitor it and use it as their monitoring along with that. The thing is you don't have to ask them, we just tell them, and they get to take them because they won't come here for that enough. So that's what we're getting ready to do as of this morning. I don't know why we hadn't thought about it. We've already done some other things with them, such as economic development, avenues for both us and the communities that they're going to be located in. So, all right, Judge Mackenzie, you want to talk a little bit about unique projects and anything going on in your county president house?
What the good. I jumped the gun earlier, obviously. And you're correct. I mean, everybody's hearing about it, and I'm right there with y'all hearing about it. We do not have a water conservation district where it is. I withhold a personal opinion on about it because, quite frankly, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. County's authority is very limited. This is not a municipality. Our only authority is on development applications and just to do with your floodplain. The land is owned by GLO, so we're working closely with GLO, who's going to have those water legs. But looking forward, which is probably next question, it is in the back of my mind a lot of unknowns, just like probably everybody here. There's so many unknowns, but we know there's billions of dollars being poured into it. We know it's a need nationally, and it's really hard to describe what's happening right now because it's happening at worse. But my job, my field, is to walk alongside it, fight for my people, fight for the water, use ideas, and to talk to people like Judge Shuster, who's been doing this for decades, not reinvent the wheel. And I think something unique about me personally also is when I bought my property, I hauled water for 3 years before I was blessed to get a well. It was 900 foot. I know what it is to bring every drop of water to my house. So I have a personal interest and personal experience in what it's like to have a toilet run in that you didn't know about and come home and I ain't got water for days. So I have a personal experience in this and interest, not just for me, the county judge, and so I'm from Hudspeth County. I feel like this is a Texas issue. This is a national issue, and we need to have our eyes wide open as things like this come down the pipe.
Thank you. Judge Rubio, tell us, you were born and raised in Rubio County, and you've watched that county change radically over the years. Tell us a little bit about the transition of Rubio County.
So my family moved to the area in the 1890s, and then Rubio County was formed in 1913. They took a piece of Bandera County and a piece of Kerr County and a big chunk of Edwards County and formed Rubio County. And so Edwards and Rubio share water reclamation conservation district. It's one of the oldest in the state of Texas. It kind of went dormant for a little while, several decades, and then it revitalized, and my late husband was as a board director, and we do everything we can together to protect water. And growing up there in Rubio County, and especially on the Lake Erie side, I watched Rubio County transform from a ranching community into a tourism second homeowner, development, dream attraction. A lot of the ranches have been subdivided because either the original owners had no children or their children and moved into metropolitan areas and been very successful in what they do and did not want to think back and continue the ranching legacies. And so here came a lot of developers. And, sometimes we don't think of, say, years and years ago, or don't give a lot of forethought because you don't think, I'll never run out of water. This droughts come and go. But you don't think, is there ever going to be a shortage of water? And so we have revamped our subdivision rules as tight as we can get them, as tight as the Texas Property Code will allow us to. And just really, really try to have healthy growth, but yet be very, very aware of water sustainability, be very active in educating that water rights will not be sold. like to Saul's or something like that. It just, and loving thy neighbor, love thy neighbor when it comes to water. And so I'm very blessed that my colleagues, the 4 county commissioners, are on the same page, and we do everything we can. We're thankful to the Texas legislature for enacting the water hydrology that helps us govern a little bit tighter subdivision rules. So our population itself has not taken a big growth, but with second landowners and cabin industry, tourist industry, we have over 100,000 people that come in and out of Rubio County. And so holding on to the water, and as I said earlier, water's become our liquid gold. And while we want to be grateful and grow and thankful for that economic boost and the livelihood that a lot of our citizens and taxpayers make, we just want to be very, very conscientious and very careless to preserve our water.
All right, thank you. Judge Shuster, tell us, as you exit the county judgeship, whatever see the county judge that has thought about the future, tell us a little bit about what you hope for Pecos County over the next 10 or 15 years as it relates to water. What are your worries? What are your concerns? What are the bright spots? See, plenty of concerns. You know, I've been there 24 years, and in the 24 years we've developed, earlier when I told you about where we've come from, most of these companies are willing to work with you. You've got to be smart. And as smart as them, if you're not, it's the buddy that's smarter and hire them. Because they're out for the quick buck. That's what they're out for. But in the long run, they can make good people here in Pecos County. For 24 years, we've had wind, some amount. And we're getting ready to double it right now with 3 AI plants coming in probably, and over 500 recurring jobs to be. That's what we're looking for, is the type of I know we don't have 500 people in Fort Stockton to work for them, because you got to be computer savvy. I'm getting old and I'm not computer savvy, so but there will be young people who will move into our area. Hopefully they make good citizens, have good stewards of water, and that's what you got to hope for. You have to rely on good information, good education, good statistics and data, and that's why you had a drinking water system. You've got to rely on that. So I think the future is good. It's going to change. But just like anything else, we have to learn to adapt to that change to make our living a better place. So I think you got a good future. All right, Judge Rubio, I'll ask you a similar question. Tell me, as you look down the road, what keeps you up at night in terms of tension? Hold me up.
Well, definitely water. Definitely that. And, you know, we were impacted. As I said, droughts come and go, but we have been heavily impacted. And we've seen a little bit of light with the flooding that we had last July. Nothing, of course, like what can we have. But we want, as I said earlier, we want to have healthy growth, but we want to be able to sustain our own. And I think tightening our subdivision rules and enforcing them and not giving waivers and will help that, because you can't stop development, can't stop people from moving into your county, or, you know, we don't have, like, Rubio County, I don't think is going to be an attraction to what my 2 colleague county judges here, because of the square miles, because we're pretty populated in one county and we're not, because ranches are still intact in the other side of the other canyon of the county. But we are a big attraction to second homeowners and developers. And so we really, really have to look far in the future, and I feel like we've done that by tightening our subdivision rules. So whoever sits in my place 10 years from now, 20 years from now, will know that that water, as I said, is liquid gold, and it's something that we can never not protect. It's a day-to-day battle, and we have to keep fighting for water.
Just out of curiosity, you talk about the subdivisions. As you tighten the subdivision regulations, what kind of pushback did you get? A lot of pushback from the development community, or did they embrace it?
So we had several public hearings where people, citizens of course, and residents and developers. We did I've had a couple of developers that came and visited with me and said, if you do that, you'll never see me develop another piece of property in Rubio County, and you won't receive tax revenue. I'll go to your neighboring county. They specifically said Edwards, and so I was like, well, good luck with that. And shaking was not as nice as saying. But it's okay. That's his claim to fame, not being nice. So, for the most part, the renters actually came to us and spoke at our public hearings and said, have we enjoyed a nice living, selling property? Absolutely. Do we definitely want to sell more? Yes. But we also don't want it to impact the water resource and the beautiful trio, really the beautiful Oasis River that we have enjoyed and been a part of all our lives. And so got some pushback from some developers. We haven't had anybody come in since we adopted December 9, 2024, but there's really not been any big piece of property that I can think of. It's been put up for sale. So we're just sitting tight, waiting.
All right, Judge Mackenzie, you want to talk a little bit about the future?
Sure. I'm very open that we, Hudspeth County, are at a crossroads right now. With our current court and people are talking to, I see a really, really bright, beautiful future. We are top of it. We are not putting our head in the sand. Back in the 50s, we used to be a very large farming community, about 100 miles of our Rio Grande. The Rio Grande's were driving that. And back then, the farmers said, "Oh heck, it'll never drive. We're fine. We won't partner with anybody else." And they didn't. And guess what? They lost their farms. So I feel like our eyes are wide open. And meeting with last month with Don Buckingham, our GLO commissioner, and the CEO of Rare Earth, us three ladies sat down and they said, "What do you see? What do you want?" And I said, "I want us to do your plan. Out of 10, out of 20, out of 50, we need a 100-year plan. I do not want my county to be wasted. It is beautiful. It is rich with minerals. There are water that are rich up in the north end of the county. And I want to see that remain in the county and us benefit from it, and not to see it go everywhere else." And I mean, imagine anyone here where you want to see, the riches of your community remain in your community. We're happy to share, although I did kind of joke that I thought development, I want you to be here, come say hi, spending money, leave. But that's not reality. Reality is things have come in, and you've got to be able to have healthy conversations, argue. If you're always agreeing, you've got trouble. I don't actually, probably just end up being the youngest in the family. Someone's asked me all the time, I'm really suspicious. And, and you've got to ask these hard questions. Talk to your local electeds. Your local elected officials is it is a big, big deal. You get to know them. And for the rural communities, my advice and what I'm always pushing to our legislators is we need technical assistance. And just like Judge Shuster said, be aware of what you do not have. Be humble, recognize, I know just enough to be dangerous. I've been an expert, and I better find out some day over. But I see you being very true with the guard today.
I know you're not a big engineer. Let's just out of curiosity, you see the water comes in, the pipes goes to the minerals, leaches out the minerals, matting to the industry. And they talked about what's going to happen to the water as it comes through the oven. Where it goes, what happens there is a 2-8.
There's many questions. And I would be remiss to say that I'm an expert. I know in meeting with the CEO who happens to have some mutual friends, and she's a new CEO. She is very mindful. The new team that they have with Rare Earth is the best I've seen. And being a local, we have seen companies from 30 years try to dismount. I mean, it has been just white noise for us. We've been here for 30 years old, 2 years old producing, 2 years old producing. I mean, it is just, it's been exhausting. About $3.6 billion. You know, with this, if it's going to happen, it is going to be today. And we are continuously aware of the safety and environmental factors. And I'm really thankful that it didn't happen 30 years ago, because the conversations weren't happening then like they are now. As annoying as social media can be nowadays, I think this is a great time where companies are recognizing working with the community is the best thing for the organization. When we
All agree.
and I definitely walk in with a good attitude. I think it's important to do that. But I'm also a manufacturing here like Judge Henington. So I got that worst case scenario sadly on the other side. And I'm always looking at that. So it's a real balancing act on an ongoing conversation. Okay.
Joe, I'll ask you the last question before we open it up to questions. For future commissioners and judges out here in the audience, what's a word of advice? Folks, any of those county issues in water. Any party for us? That's a hard question. But when you take this job, you don't know what you're doing. You've had no real training for it. There's not a book in the library that teaches you how to become a commissioner or county judge. But there's a learning process, and it takes Association of Counties who represents all the counties in the state of Texas have a very good education program. And so does Texas Association of County Judges and Commissioners. All together, between the two of them, they do educational programs throughout the year. Each commissioner has to have at least 16 hours per year. Judges have to have 16 hours per year of judicial alone. And in the beginning, a new judge comes in and he has to have 30 hours, 16 of judicial, and the other 14 is about the different departments within the county, whether it's county commissioner, whether it's the county judges, whether it's county clerk, district clerk, district judges. You have to learn exactly what each one of them does. And the main thing that I could give you a kind of advice, stay in your lane. Because they're all elected officials, and you can't go tell another elected official what to do. So stay in your lane. As I know that sometimes I have to remind them, fitness the purpose. All right, we're going to open up for questions from the audience. Who wants to go first up there? Anybody got any calls, questions for county judges? Yeah.
I have it there.
Okay.
Got a question for Judge Shuster. With regard to your data centers, and I know you all had some Bitcoin mining there before. We have a data center coming into the city of county, and I was involved in initial negotiations, conversations, and I got a lot of feedback from, it's new to our county, and I got a lot of feedback from ranchers saying, do not talk to those people, do not offer them anything, do not engage with them, tell them to go away. And I was like, well, you know, my training tells me that basically the best tool I have is to negotiate a carrot and stick with a potential tax break. How have you navigated tax breaks with the constituents and with the companies that have come in? How have you dealt with that push-pull, if at all?
Good question. When we first started this, they wanted tax abatements, each one of them. But, and I'll start with the main farms first, that wanted tax breaks.
Then he did that.
Wind has nothing to do with water. Okay? So there was no problem there. And so we went with pilot payments, payment in lieu of taxes. And pilot payments are negotiated between the county and the company that's bringing in, in this case, a wind farm. And again, there was no map, no book out there to be able to do it and give you directions in which to go. And they came in and they were asking for 100% abatements. We said no. We went. We offered the 60%. They said no. They went to 90%. We said we'll give you 70, and that's it. Okay. That 30% came to the county at matter of payment in lieu of taxes. It's outside your budget. It is money that comes in outside taxes that are raised to run your budget. We negotiated that by using those payments to restore all our 50 and 80-year-old buildings that were falling down and were eaten up by termites and so on and so forth. Right now, we're getting ready to finish a community center / teen center / JP and tax office in Ariane, Texas, which is over on the eastern part of our county. When we build that and get it completed, it's paid for. It's paid for with payment in lieu of taxes. Didn't go to the taxpayers.
Fair.
So we've been able to negotiate that. And now we've had solar farms, and I remember we had our first solar farm. It's a little 25 megawatt solar farm out here by Ace Road. If you know anything about Pecos County and Interstate 10, that Ace Road is about 25 miles west of Fort Stockton, and it was 25 megawatt solar farm. And it was kind of funny, I ran across the news deal in my Facebook account the other day. It popped up and it said it was so many years ago. Now they had that news deal for Channel 9 News, and it was where we had the ribbon cutting for first solar at 25 megawatts. And I made a statement that this is the first solar farm to come to Pecos County. These people are the wildcatters of solar farm. But guess what? We've had about 10 or 12 other solar farms come to Pecos County, and I found another 7 or 8 hold on it too. Solar farms have nothing to do with water. Mine is going to have something to do with water. It's not so much the data centers, it's the AI centers. Data centers use, like I said earlier, they use air cool, they use oil. We have one of each, one oil, one water, one air cool. At Pecos County for good points. The 3 data centers that are going to be AI, like I said, one of them is going to use water, and the other 2, they're still in the talking stage. So I've got another 2 for them now, because if they're going to use water, we're going to have to drill long-term well there, or they're not going to get. You're not going to give them abatements, and they'll go somewhere else. I don't think they'll go somewhere else.
Yes, excuse me. This is, I represent a number of landowners on the river in Hudspeth County, Rubio County, and Brewster County. And starting in June, they're going to start building the wall from Fort Quitman all the way to Colorado Canyon. The federal government has let the contract on the first phase of that, and they're finalizing those on the second 2 phases. Are the county judges engaged in that process? And is there any way that you could use your influence rather than divorcing the Rio Grande River from Texas, finding opportunities to have access to that water, not only for the ranchers, but also for the wildlife?
I'll take that one. I think, the simple answer is we have not been in the loop. Most of this has kind of popped up at the last minute. This particular county judge in Brewster County, we don't have a good answer on whether they're going past Colorado Canyon. But I've been living off the water for 32 years. And this county judge sees no reason to go with a border wall on Brewster County. And it's just a great legislative. You want to go about it? Sure. I think collectively, what we have found, legislature, is that collective voice does make some difference. We're doing it in rural health care, so I don't want to to do it with board issues. I had no idea where else it lands. It's a concern. I get border security. I don't have a problem with that. I think there are other ways to do it. But, so, all I can do is watch it very close. We have not, no one's called us and said, hey, why don't you come to a meeting and stop on the wall? It has not happened.
Okay, can I answer part of that too?
Yeah. I agree with Greg about the border wall. I grew up in Fort Stockton and grew up in Big Bend just like everybody else, Alpine in this area all of my life. And it's pretty pathetic when you're going to build a wall and cover up the best senior areas in West Texas by doing that. I think you need to contact congressmen because each one of us has a different congressman out open. And you've got to contact those congressmen and put it over there because they're only doing what they're being told to do. You just got to stop. I do not want that wall built in Big Bend. That's too better. Period.
I'll piggyback on that. I agree too. I think it's a bad thing to make people feel better that don't live here and don't see it. Having been a medic, I've worked in the hospitals where it's the vulnerable people that are hurt. Big bad guys are going to find a way here. All that wall does is have people dragging, falling, and get hurt, and affect our animals and the environment. And it's up to them. Right.
But the American people. That's a real easy question. Well, this is going to be our hard answer, Bob. It's real simple. On the data centers and AIs, how much water are we talking about? We're all worried about the water. I'm a hydrologist. How much water? And if you can't put a number on it, can you maybe compare it to, irrigation takes about 70-80%? Can we put some kind of quantitative amount? Sure.
Okay, it just came out in the newspaper as a reporter here about 10 days, 2 weeks ago. It's Pacifico Data Center, or Pacifico AI. They're 5 megawatt, and which is a lot.
Yeah.
And no, that's 5 megawatts of electricity. No, gigawatts, 5 gigawatts. My bad. Not 5 megawatts, 5 gigawatts.
I didn't wait.
And they're telling us that they're going to have a looped water in theirs, and they figure that they'll use 10,000 gallons a day. Now, they're going to be located over the water in northern Pecos County. That water is somewhere in the estimated TDS of 8,000 TDS. You can't use it for anything right now, but they're going to clean it up and use it and circle it through the loops and replenish it back into the officer. There's also another operation going on just east of Red Bluff. If you know where Red Bluff is, they're going to clean the salt water in the Pecos River, and they have got 2 minutes. They have they have Texas A&M that's part of this experiment and cleaning it up, and they're working on it as we talk right now. So there are some new innovative ideas that they're trying to work on to be able to clean this water up and use it and recycle it and use it.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, sir.
My question is for Judge Mackenzie. Judge, what is the status of oil exploration and development now in Hudspeth County? Or is there any?
My understanding is they're poking holes, but nothing's being found.
Swiss cheese. All right, we're gonna hang around here for a little bit. That's to conclude our session. We thank you guys for coming. If you got any questions, feel free to come on.